Oh, move everything out of my way, I guess. Um, Hello. Hi. Welcome. It's good to see you. For all of you new, I am Tyler, and a lot of these videos here on this channel already previously are of me just discussing things, me going into a little bit of a deep thought, a critical thought, and kind of breaking it down for what I believe it to be. Um, Today is a little bit different. It still is the same, but it's a little bit more deeper, a little bit more personal, and a little bit more revealing, I guess, within the insight of myself. But through that reflection, hopefully, when I regurgitate it, it then becomes relatable to not just myself, but maybe something that somebody else is dealing with. Today, I want to talk about running away from problems, running away from fears, running away from responsibilities. It is something that has stayed with me throughout my life, even in situations where I may believe that what I'm doing is the right choice, what I'm doing is more beneficial, what I'm doing is for everybody's best interest. A lot of the times that's not the case, because a lot of the times within those tendencies, if you have tendencies to say run, um, your thoughts, your reasonings, your rationalization becomes a little bit teetery. So within my experience, I want to just go through a quick, brief timeline of once I hit the point in my life of not necessarily full adulthood, but the first instances of me taking full responsibility of my actions, where they take me, where they'll lead me next, so on and so forth. I do want to touch on that. So um, there was a time where, coming right out of high school, of course, right when you're stepping over the threshold of making decisions for yourself, I was doing YouTube. I was pretty successful at YouTube, and that's what kept me from getting your normal job coming out of high school was YouTube. I was making decent money by that, enough to keep my gas being paid for, all my little extra things I wanted to do. I didn't have to run around and ask for it, so I wasn't necessarily turned back around to the, well, you need to get a job, because I never had to ask for money. So when that started plummeting, I did have a girlfriend at the time. When that started plummeting, she was very responsible. She was she kept up with herself, kept up with her money. And when that started plummeting, it was kind of like a depression that came over me, but it was also a fear of not wanting to tell her. I didn't want to tell her the extremes of it. I was also still very anxious about getting a real job. So within that, I couldn't figure out myself in a way, and I wasn't saying the right things to help somebody help me. So I was keeping all of that bottled, and of course, when comments came up, well, then you're just gonna have to get a job. Well, you think I haven't already thought about that? That's where my brain goes. That's where my brain would go. It would get offended. It would get all of the 9 yards. Anyway, so within that, eventually over time, as things continued to plummet, um, my rationalization within that, my decision was to get out. I can't be, if I'm gonna go down, I can't take her down with me. When in reality, she would have picked me up. She would have got me on my feet. She was the type of person that would have stood there beside me and helped me. But I got out of there, and I dove into another relationship not too long after that, and none of those thoughts or fear were inside of that relationship, this new one, because that wasn't even a factor. She didn't have thoughts and goals of the future, in the sense of, how are we going to get a house? The only way we can get a house is if we save for money, or save our money. No, that wasn't on the plate. She was still in her party phase, so any money that would come in would go right back out to whatever we could get. And so I stayed within that quite a while. It let me see very, very deep into my sorrows. It let me see very, very deep into my just the sides of my sadness and my aloneness that I had never tapped in before. So within that, as low as it was, as dark as it was a very, very huge blessing for myself, because it it was an example of how low I can get and still pull myself back up. But before I did that, I ran a few more times. There was a point where, just within everything, within the relationship itself, of course, there were many times where I just was like, okay, I'm done, and I would leave. Of course, within these types of relationships, there was a lot of back and forth, a lot of getting back together. And then eventually I hit the point. I said, I'm going to Mississippi. I'm moving to Mississippi. I'm not coming back. So on and so forth. You're just going to have to live with that. So I packed up everything. I moved in with my aunt. She had everything set up for me. She completely blessed me. And this was right around Christmas time. It creeps around to Christmas time. And we go to North Carolina. Conveniently, my friends from Florida, their grandmother has a shack up there. We'd have to climb in the windows to even unlock the door. No real, power barely working, no water. But I called them because that was very close to where his grandmother's shack was. And I made a plan of, since I'm coming to North Carolina with my family, you guys can meet me here, pick me up. We can stay at Granny's for a night and then head back to Florida. Little rescue mission right there. Why was that? Because once this Christmas trip was over, it was back to reality. The kids were going to school. I was going to have to not lay around and sulk all day. I was going to have to get up and actually get a job, apply myself to every day. And that was getting scary to me, that I was going to have to do that in a separate state and so on and so forth. I didn't have friends, didn't have my parents. So I bolted back to Florida. Of course, when I got back there, it was even worse because I was already halfway in that spiral, that when I came back, it kind of hit me with a little bit of a failure feeling, that I just went off and pretty much failed myself again, because here I am right back in the same place I just left. And so within that, I did end up spiraling more. Before I had left, my story was kind of scary to some people. Dangerous to a lot of people, but mainly it was myself. And then when I left and came back, even worse happened. And so that was my consequence of running and running and running. And then finally I had enough in Florida. Things were boiling down to it. I could have gotten a job in Florida. I could have figured things out there. But when things boiled down to it, I wasn't going to have a house, wasn't going to have a place to stay, there wasn't any possibility of anything, really working out in my favor. I ran again. This time, I feel like was the right decision. I feel like I did go to the right place that I was needing to go, but I came to Tennessee. Within Tennessee, I've been good. I've been, steady. I've been stationary for the most part. But then I came across where I was hitting that rocky stage again. I was getting a little bit irritated, getting a little bit frustrated, getting a little bit of everything, and just kind of had to break out. And so I did that, and I met a girl. Best decision, best experience, best time of my life. But within this is where all of the timeline that I've explained, the me being able to pinpoint, me doing these things. And the reasoning in my own head is that it was, taught, it was learned behavior, because, I can't even remember a year without our life that, the end of the year was creeping up and we were going to have to find a new place to live. It was a constant, this challenge is coming up. We know that we need money for rent, but how do we get it? We don't know how to get it because it's too big right now. It's too big of an issue right now, and it's smothering me. We're going to wait until it gets up to the point and we have no choice but to then have to leave. So it was taught behavior. But here in Tennessee, I met a girl. There were situations, so on and so forth, that put me on the track to move in with her. And through that experience, that was another bolt experience. That was another pack everything up in less than a day and be out. And that happened. So within that experience, I'm doing things I've never done before. I'm doing dishes before I even leave for work. I'm doing laundry. I'm taking the trash out. I'm doing the house cleaning, helping with the house cleaning, the vacuuming, the tidying up, the wiping the countertops, the, just dusting things, picking up after kids, making sure that the kids have eaten, things like that. These things I had never done before. I'd never put on my plate before. I had never taken it as an experience of my own. Uh, Even with my sister having kids and so on and so forth, it still wasn't in the sense of I'm doing this for me, right? I could do it for my sister all day long, but it's not going to make a difference unless I'm doing it for me. In this sense, I was doing it for me. I was taking the trash out for me. I was doing the dishes for me. Because in that instance, I know that I am capable of being, kind of that man that people believe doesn't exist, but it's true to self that these men aren't doing the dishes because it doesn't benefit them at all. Well, I do these dishes because I've seen the men that keep up with these tendencies. I've witnessed the men that keep up with these chores and do them out of just the kindness of their heart, to do them for themselves. I've seen the power of that occur within a relationship, within a marriage, within a friendship. I've seen those things happen. So when it comes down to it, I'm not going to be the one to sit on the couch and be buried in a video game while you're washing the dishes. I'm at least going to stand up, come over to you, say, you need me to get those? Let me get those. You go do something. Let me get those dishes. So within all of that, I was doing those things, so I know that those things were bettering me. But it boiled down to it, and a situation arose where it was pretty much a choice. There was a discussion of things are going to be shaken up. There's where the possibilities are leading is you will need to look for your own place. You will need to learn how to get out of here, in a sense. And so within that, my mind went back to my normal tendencies. My mind went back to my normal habits of how I deal with challenges that arise unexpectedly. So when this hit, it was a lot. It was a lot going through my head. The possibility of staying was slimmer than the one of me leaving. And that's where I struggle even today. But the whole reason of me telling you all of this is leading up to this point. A lot of the times people will make decisions, and then within the consequence and within just the reality of the decision, they get time to ponder of if I wouldn't have done that, this would have happened. If I wouldn't have said that, this could have happened. Now I have no doubt in my mind that if I wouldn't have reacted in any way, I would still be there. I would still be, whatever. It may have even ended on bad terms if I would have stayed a little bit longer. I don't know. But what I chose to do was, after hearing the news, I let it sit for a few hours, and then it just dawned on me, if these decisions are being made in the sense of me not being considered or included within the grand scheme of the plan, then I will have to consider myself fully in this situation. And what needs to happen is I just need to get this over with. I need to rip the Band-Aid off and get out there and live my life. So what I do, I packed up right bright and early in the morning, and I hit the road. About halfway down the road, I realized, I got obligations. I've got bigger things here. I've got more things here that I haven't completed that I can't just run from. If I do, I'm going to set myself back even further than I believe that I'm set back at the moment. So what I have to do, I had to break down. I called my dad, got some clarification on some things, got some sense talked into me, and I turned right around. This was the first time in my life that within the moment of acting upon those running away from the challenge, running away from the experience, I changed. I changed my mind, I changed my life, I changed my patterns, I changed my tendencies, and that would not happen again. And the reason that I know it won't happen again is because I was taught this lesson through someone that I will never forget. I was taught this lesson, and was given the opportunity to run away one last time, to run away from something that I know I would never forget that I ran from. And so that becomes the perfect example, because it's not like a time where, it gets hazy and it's like, oh, well, that time when my YouTube was failing, I did run away then. Like, yeah, I can recollect that now, but what drove me to go that far back? This experience. Because this one's powerful. This one's very meaningful to me. And so the gratitude of the magnitude of the gratification that I have is beyond anything I can truly just explain in words. But that lesson was learned. That lesson of facing the challenge of not running, not reacting off of your emotions, but sitting there and logically putting it together. If I could have logically put it together right then and there, within the time being, I would have been able to say, I have a car note, I have a job, I have these things that are going for me, and I can't just run from them. If I run from my job, I lose my source of income. If I lose my source of income, I lose my car payment. If I lose my car payment, I lose my car. If I lose my car, that hits my credit. That hits my credit. I'm in a world of hurt, trying to even further my life with or without this person. So I had to turn around. I had to face my pride, I had to face my fear, I had to face my challenge, and then I also had to face my mistake. So within all of these things, it put it into my head, and it made me realize of just how, one, blessed I am, but also that lesson of running. That lesson of reacting off of an emotion, that reacting off of those spiraling thoughts in your head as bad news hits you. I take it all as a blessing, but that being able to reflect on all of the timeline of all the times that I've ran, all the times that I've freaked out and just bolted. There was a time my dad told me to get out of his house. I didn't even allow emotions to die down. My dad would have never said that in just a calm state. He would have never asked me to leave in a calm state. As soon as he calmed down, he allowed me to know that he didn't mean that. He didn't want me out of his house. But I had already left, because as soon as he said that, I bolted. I reacted right off of the emotion. I said, you're feeling that way? You said that you're feeling to the point of saying that? Then let me allow you to let me allow that to happen. And I messed up. And it took me messing up to learn this lesson. It took me messing up so many different times to finally lead to kind of the grand finale of it all, of if you do this again, it's going to be even worse. So I believe I was given this example. I was given these people within my life at a perfect timing for me to make the mistake, for me to hurt not only myself but others in the process, to really rattle me, really shake me, and really open my eyes to the magnitude of my decisions, the size of my decisions, the impact of every action taken. And from this day forward, I've learned that facing the challenge, standing face to face with it, not running, because running is no longer an option, but standing there and staying calm enough to be able to think is the best option. And I'm blessed to say that I get another day to try to live that example. If this helps you in any way, if my story just of my experiences of how they kind of led on, I know I didn't go too deep into it, but if this helps you in any way, if you feel kind of the same way, definitely leave a like in the comments below. Just let me know of an experience where you felt like you were making a mistake, but in the long run, you realized that you gained so many lessons within it that you can't do anything but forgive yourself. If you guys aren't having too great of a day, have a great day. Have an amazing day. Have a wonderful day. And until I see you guys again, take it easy.